In this video, we are going to start setting up the timer countdown. We want the player to move and collect as many points in the allotted time. So let's go ahead and start setting up that timer. Go into Canvas and we're going to create a new UI text. And you can see the text appears in the center of our game view. Center it, center it. We're going to actually anchor this and position it in the lower right hand corner. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so we can see and set up the overflow. Go ahead and write timer, and we're going to position this to the left a little bit, so about -100, and up a little bit, so about a +50. Now, if you remember in the introduction video, our timer wasn't actually a text. It was a wheel that would slowly disappear and change colors. But we're going to use a text just because it's something familiar for now before we go ahead and switch to that wheel. So let's go ahead and set up the code for the text. Go into Game Manager, and we're going to have a couple new variables. First off, we're going to do our text variable. Public text, and go ahead and name that timer count. We also are going to want two variables. One of those is going to be a public float, and that's going to be our start time. So that's how much time we are given for the entire game. We're going to set that as public so we can specify that within the inspector. Now we're going to make a private float, and this is going to be called current time. So this variable is going to be the time as the game is played, so it's going to continually change. So there's a couple things we need to do. There's one thing we need to do at the very start, and that's going to be to set the current time to be assigned as the start time. So this current time is going to take on the value of start time. So go ahead into start, and we're going to say current time is going to be equal or assigned the value of the start time. So whatever time we specify, which we'll probably do 30 seconds, that current time is now going to become 30 seconds. Go ahead and comment and say current time has a starting value of start time. So now current time is whatever we specify as that start time, which we'll go ahead and do in the inspector. Now, the update function is where that time is going to change. So we're going to want the current time equals, it's going to be the current time minus time dot delta time. So delta time, it says, is the time in seconds it took to complete the last frame. So that delta time is actually going to be the change in time. So our delta time is going to be our countdown. So the new current time is going to be whatever the previous current time was minus that change in time. But as you remember, we actually don't need to write this. So go ahead and delete current time minus, and you can just do minus equals, because that's the same thing. So the current time changes by a negative delta time since we're taking away that time. If we were to do plus equals, we would be counting up, but we want to count down. And so that we can see that happen within the game, let's go ahead and have the current time displayed within that text variable we created. So timerCount.text, an empty string, and the current time. So for now, this is just going to display the time countdown. Go ahead and save this. And remember, we wrote this code within the game manager. So when we go back into the inspector, we're going to need to go to our game object. That's where the game manager script is stored. You can see it will be updated. So now we have a timer count text. So let's go ahead and rename that text that we wrote in. Name it timer count. So we're going to drag our timer count text in for timer count. And then our start time is going to be 30 seconds. Go ahead and run the game. And you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, it's counting down. Let's go back into our game manager script and clean this up a little bit. We have two lines of code within the update function that are both associated with the timer countdown. So let's go ahead and create a new function and store those. Then as we add more, we just need to add it into the function itself, not necessarily in the update function. So this is just a way of organizing your code and keeping it a little bit cleaner. So go ahead and copy and delete those, or just cut them, and we're going to say timer function goes here for now, so we know where to place it. So down still within your game manager script, just like we did a void number picker, we're going to do a void, and this is going to be for timer, so let's call this timer countdown. Open bracket, close bracket, and we're just going to paste what we cut. And now since we named the function timer countdown, we're going to go up and write timer countdown. Save this, let's go back into Unity and see that the game still works. And there we have our timer counting down, and our score is adjusted. As the timer counts down, I would also like that to change colors. Go from green, meaning that you're in the safe zone and you have a lot of time left, down to red, meaning you have very little time left. So let's go over how we're going to do that. We're going to change the color of that text with a new function. So within timer countdown, we're going to say timer count dot color, since we're changing the color, and that's going to be assigned to color dot lerp. Now as you type that in, you can see color lerp linearly interpolates between colors A and B by the value t. So it's going to be open parenthesis, a color, comma, another color, comma, the float value of t, and then close parenthesis. Now know that t can only be values between 0 and 1. When t is 0, our variable, which is in this case the timer count dot color, so the timer count text color is going to be that color A. When t is 1, it's going to be that color B. So if our starting color at 0 is going to be green, so we're going to say color dot green, and our end color is going to be red. So we need to figure out how to get t to go from 0 to 1. And that's going to be with some math. So we know that the start time is 30 seconds, and we know that the current time counts down from that start time. So it goes 30, 29, 28, etc. Now start time over start time will give us that value of 1, because that'll be 30 over 30. If you remember, we set the current time to be the start time at the beginning of the game. So if we do start time minus the current time, which are both 30 at the beginning of the game, then we'll have 30 minus 30 divided by 30, remembering to put the start time and current time in parentheses so that the division occurs last. We're going to have 30 minus 30, which is 0, over 30. That will be us starting at that color green, because when t is 0, we start at the first color. So as current time changes, we're counting down, so that current time goes from 30 to 29 to 28, and so on. So at 29, it's going to be 30 minus 29, which is 1 over 30. So we're starting to climb up. If the current time was 15, it would be 30 minus 15, so 15 over 30. So we're getting closer to that value of 1. Say current time was 1, so we have 1 left on our countdown clock. Then it's 30 minus 1, which would be 29 over 30. So even closer to this color red, and then eventually it'll be 30 minus 0, which is 30 over 30, which will be this color red. So all those numbers in between that we get, such as 29 over 30, 28 over 30, 15 over 30, 2 over 30, 1 over 30, all of those occur between green and red. So that green is going to change into that color red as our time changes. Go ahead and comment and say changes from green to red as the time changes. Save this, go back into Unity, and let's test it out. When we run this, you can see it starts out as green, and I'll go ahead and fast forward the video, and we'll end at red. And here we are at red. So in this video, we created that timer countdown, which is a text currently. In the next video, we're going to make that from a text into that wheel that we discussed from the introduction. So you're not going to have those numbers flashing at you constantly. You're just going to have the wheel going from green to red. Remember, if you found this video, to give me a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible on those.